Content warnings. Descriptions of injuries.
Welcome to the Rue Papers.
You are never going to guess what I found, Finn. I was in the stacks, rummaging through the reports. It's all a mess back there. Random bits of paper floating about, old phonograph reels, a tape or two, some vinyl records, boxes of photograph negatives. It's like it was all just dumped in there any which way and then left to fall apart. Considering we're in a library and it's been mostly librarians that have come down here, I would have thought someone would do the librarian thing and sort it all out. Maybe I should get Elena or Robin to help me. Or even Rose. No, I'm getting distracted again. I was searching through some half-eaten papers, mice, I think, not humans. Although, and this fell literally on top of my head. I practically squeaked with delight when I saw it, which is a bit embarrassing to admit. Anyway, today's case. It's a report from 1938, the death of Frederick Cheveley. Yes, that's what I said. Transcribed from his personal phonographic diary. 12th of October, 1938. Really, the Ellingtons have gone too far this time. They have set up a special wartime group, ostensibly to provide support and guidance of a spiritual sort to our troops in the upcoming war. Of course, what they really will be doing is recruiting more to their cause. So many will die in this upcoming war, and so many will die in the right circumstances. They will lure them in with promises of everlasting life and the chance to come back, and what strong young man would resist that? And what can I offer? An uncertain fate? A death which may, in the end, mean nothing. I haven't even been able to save my own loved ones. The pain of that loss never goes away. I thought it would lessen, and yet every day it remains as sharp as ever. I turn to speak to someone who is no longer by my side, and hasn't been for many years. What can I offer anyone, except the chance to not destroy our world? And as the world is already being destroyed, what chance is that? The Ellingtons have money and power and the ear of people who matter, whereas I am increasingly sidelined, seen as nothing more than a quack or some sort of mad scientist. If it wasn't for the kind donations of Fodor, Rue would have collapsed long ago. I am so tired. But I must fight. 15th of October, 1938. The things that walk at night are restless. The entire world is, trembling on the edge of disaster or of triumph, like a warrior poised for the battle, his muscles shivering with the strain of anticipation. We tried to go on as normal, day after day, but at night, that is when the fears come out. We are flooded with stories. A great wolf prowls the fields in Lincolnshire. A bear haunts the ramparts of the tower. A woman wails nightly in a tiny village in Cornwall. A man in Glasgow wakes every morning to find bruises around his neck, although he sleeps alone and is never woken. People talk of a street in Liverpool where they walk through a shop doorway and find themselves 20 years in the past. Rue is a hive of activity, yet we are losing the young men who work for us. They see more glory in a battle against the living. They are being replaced by women. We shall see how they do. I am told they should no longer be considered as the weaker sex. We shall see. I have a group of 3 who work with me: Jacqueline Bartlett, Mary McGowan, and Grace Gloucester. All are calm, measured, and meticulously recording. Today I take them with me to investigate a sighting in a church in an empty little village called Dulcaster. It is, literally, empty. The village has been forcibly deserted by government order to be used for training by the army. And yet, the soldiers dared not go in. There were no warnings from the villagers as they left. No one made ominous pronouncements about the dead walking the street. I sent Bartlett to a nearby hotel to question the villagers who had left, and I roamed the village, in daylight, with Gloucester and McGowan at 3:15 in the afternoon. Mary would be a most pleasant woman if she stopped talking occasionally. She is fascinated by the concept of time travel. Gloucester is competent and had made a map of the village and the sightings, but quiet. Although that may be because she couldn't get a word in edgewise. As I said, we had a map, and it was a small village, which was why it puzzled me when Gloucester said, "This is the third time we've been down this street." "They all look the same. How can you tell?" Mary asked. "Two of them have green floral curtains. In one of them, the curtain is twisted around itself. The cottage on the left has a ceramic gnome that is missing an arm. The bike leaning against that wall has been painted a violent shade of blue." She was, of course, right. I had noticed these things myself. I am impressed Gloucester noticed on only our third trip through. "It doesn't feel wrong," Mary said, and I dislike that. We cannot rely on feelings. We must have cool, calm logic. And yet, my memory is full of young men who said, "This feels wrong," and I never saw them again. "Are we trapped?" Gloucester asked. "Was this in the reports?" I had not told them of the reports, as I didn't want to influence them beforehand. And besides, they were disturbing. Not the sort of thing fit for young ladies' ears. As I said, the villagers made no reports. It was the soldiers, strong young men, ready for battle and ready for war, the kind of people who ought to be calm and rational. But they gibbered tales more fit for the pages of a penny dreadful. I made the decision not to tell my assistants, as I did not want them nervous and agitated before it even started. However, this may have been a mistake, as when the apparitions appeared, they were not ready. Truth to tell, neither was I. A young man stood in front of the cottage with the twisted curtain. He wore a uniform. His face was torn in two. A woman stood by the bike. She wore a nurse's uniform. Her head was missing 2/3. An older man dressed as a pilot. His entire body was black and red with burns. A man in a captain's uniform, half his body bubbling with the acid burn of gas. We could not only see them, we could smell them. The unforgettable stench of scorched flesh, the fetid rot of the gangrene, sickly sweet smell of the gas. It made my stomach churn, and brought back memories I have tried so hard to forget. It was a truly horrifying sight. And yet neither woman screamed or ran, as the soldiers had. Gloucester began to take notes, although she was pale. McGowan actually stepped forward for a closer look. "They're from the Great War," she said, studying the uniforms. "The dead of the village from that war? A warning, perhaps?" "Apparition is warning," Gloucester noted. "Highly surprising in the circumstances. A standard blessing should clear the village." "I don't believe in such things," I said. "We are here to observe, not to solve." It doesn't matter whether you believe, it's what they believe, she said, gesturing at the beings with her pencil. And if we can't... She was interrupted by McGowan's cry. She had got too close and one of them had scratched her. They had physical forms. They could affect the world around them. This was not usual. This was not right. I pulled her away and warned Gloucester we had to leave right now. And that was when it all went wrong. Dreadfully wrong. You see, there had been a failure in communication. The army had not been told we were there, and they were using that village as target practice. The explosion killed Gloucester and McGowan immediately. I tried to reach them. I tried. But suddenly Bartlett was there and pulled me away before I could even approach the flames. There was no going back for her friends. They were gone. Dead. Oh God. Oh God. Another loss, and it's my fault this time. Again. My fault. 15th of October, 1938. Today, we are investigating a village left deserted, or rather, forced to be deserted, so it can be used to train soldiers. It is a fairly ordinary village. No ghostly legends beyond the standard grey lady in the churchyard. However, the soldiers refuse to train here and have told us the most lurid and gruesome tales of things they see there. I feel strange about my visit. When I sent Bartlett to question the villagers, I almost sent McGowan and Gloucester with her. They would have objected, of course. They seem to object to almost every order I give. They are under the impression I am mollycoddling them, and of course I am. They are the weaker sex. Yet they also have the stubbornness and argumentative nature of that same sex. And I must admit, they justify their roles. Gloucester is an impressive researcher, noting and recording everything. McGowan appears to be without fear. And yet, something concerned me. As Millington used to say, something was itching in my brain. But that is illogical, and I am driven by logic. As it turned out, the village was indeed haunted. First, that we appeared to be walking the same street over and over, and soon after that McGowan noticed the apparitions. A young man with bandages around his eyes. A woman in the clothes of a motorcycle messenger, covered in blood. A Sikh soldier with a bayonet through his heart. I had a moment of fear, I am ashamed to say. I have seen worse, often. And these are nothing but shadows. I might as well be afraid of the reflection in a mirror. I think perhaps the fear was not for them, poor wisps of matter that they are, but what they evoked. I remembered for a moment, you see. I remembered seeing people like this. People who had been alive moments before. Corpses of those I had known. Loved. Mary noted quite calmly that these were all apparitions from the Great War and perhaps served as some kind of warning. Gloucester suggested blessing the village, a suggestion I pooh-poohed. One scratched Mary. As the foolish girl got too close, I knew at once. These were from the Blue Lands and trying to get through. But then, they're dead. The army didn't know they were there and they died. A massive explosion. I only survived because Jackie arrived at the right moment. More dead, and once again, my fault. There have been so many dead under my watch. I miss Millington. 15th of October, 1938. I feel very unsteady today. When I went into the hotel dining room, I saw Bartlett there, and she looked up at me with a face that mirrored my own, I feel. Tired and weary and confused. Are you quite well? I asked. I don't think I am, she said. Maybe you should stay in the hotel today, I replied. No, I don't think that can stop it. Stop what? I have no idea. I don't know why I said that. I only nodded. I, too, had the same thought. How to stop it? What do they want from us? Yet, I had no idea what it is we're trying to stop. Surely not the investigation. The stories are gruesome, but there doesn't appear to be any apparent danger, and my team are strong, intelligent, and courageous. When Mary and Grace, I mean McGowan and Gloucester, came down, I also had the same urge to tell them to stay in the hotel, whilst I went to the village alone for their own good. I know they would tell me I was being patronizing, but I, for once, was not. A sudden urge to protect them swelled through me. I do not believe it was because they are women. I think it's because they are my students, and I have lost so many students. The names of those who have died while in my care came back to me last night. Their faces weaved through my dreams, led by Millington. I don't need to be reminded. I have never forgotten them. I have never forgotten him. I will have made written notes. Please refer to them for details of the case today. I feel like, as I speak the words, they feel stale in my mouth, as if repeating a lesson I have taught 100 times before. I had a feeling as we were about to walk down the street. We've walked down here before. I noted the curtain twisted around itself, and the blue bike. I greeted them as one greets a familiar landmark on the way to a dreaded appointment. No, we haven't, Grace said. At that moment Mary cried out, and I turned to look. A scratch had appeared on her arm, and beside her stood an officer, half his jaw missing, his arm mangled beyond repair. I had a sudden urge, and I gave in. Run, I cried. Get out of the village, now! To give them their due, they ran immediately I ordered them to, and I stumbled after them, only to fall and turn to see the entire village full of ghosts, all in great war uniforms, all horribly injured, all reaching towards me eagerly. And I knew, once again, I was too late. The army fired very accurately. Mary and Grace died immediately. If not for Jack, I would have died too. She pulled me away, and as we lay panting in the grass outside the village, she said to me, I came back early. I thought I could stop it. Nothing could have stopped this. I know. I just felt like I had to try, even before I knew it was happening. 15th of October, 1938. Oh God. They're dead. They're dead. I should have died instead of Daniel. He would never have let this happen. 15th of October, 1938. An odd day. I went down to breakfast and found Jack sitting there, her face white. What is it? I asked. Let's not go today, she said quickly. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I thought for a moment. I, too, had a feeling that we should not go today, and yet I don't like to give in to such feelings. But then I looked up, and he was there, standing across the room. Millington. Daniel. My Daniel. My Daniel. As clear as if he had never left me. Just standing there, smiling. He looked so real that I stood up quickly to greet him. And then he vanished. Gone beyond my reach. Again. At that moment, Mary and Grace arrived, and I told them we would not be going today. Both were disappointed, but I declined to explain my decision. Instead, I said we would focus on research. Once we had convened in the hotel library, I brought down my phonograph to review my previous thoughts. That is when I played them. All of them. All the October 15th I had lived through. I have no memory of this, I said once we had listened. Perhaps it is a joke? You don't play jokes, Mary said. Why did you cancel today? Grace, questioning as always. You may not remember, Jack said, but you know. Somewhere inside you, you know. Just as I do. Well, I said, let us approach this in a logical manner. Time slips are not unknown. If not time slips, why not some sort of time loop? We spent the afternoon discussing the tapes. Grace noted that the village itself had seemed to send us on the same path over and over again. Jack talked about the ghosts, obviously from the Blue Lands. They had tried to take Mary. It felt like we were being corralled in this time and place, but to achieve what? To die? To watch my students die? Over and over? It was Mary who came up with a solution. She really is quite brilliant. If this is a time loop, she hypothesized, and we are stuck in it, and time slips are real, then they can see the future. What happened, what keeps happening, is what is meant to happen. They, the Blue Lands, whatever controls the Blue Lands, want something else to happen, and they will keep playing the day over and over. And therefore, she said bravely, if they want me and Grace to live, it follows that we should die. I am not sure I agree with that hypothesis, Grace said. It doesn't matter, Jack pointed out. We have already broken the cycle by staying here. Nevertheless, I said, I intend to pin a note to the phonograph to listen to the previous entries each morning. It appears to be immune from whatever resets each day. But as you say, you will not die today. Here was a gas leak. It seeped into their rooms as they slept and choked them, and then someone struck a match. I was outside, watching the stars. They were all dead before midnight. Again. 15th of October, 1938. Again. It happened again. Why can't I stop it? This time we went far away. We got in the car and drove. A crash. A car crash. I can't stop it. It wants us dead. And then the day resets so the Blue Lands can force Grace and Mary to live. 15th of October, 1938. They have to die. They have to die. Grace and Mary. I survive every time. Jack survives almost every time. And now, when I wake up in the morning, I remember what happened. I see their faces, dead, blank, destroyed. And when I go downstairs to see Jack, I know she remembers too. Mary and Grace never do. We have to tell them, time after time. We have to tell them they died. 15th of October, 1938. We have lived this day many times now. Jack and I try different combinations, and so often it ends up with those ghouls watching us, taunting us, warning us, telling us to try it again, walk down that street again, watch your students die again and again until you get it right. I think I know what has to be done. 15th of October, 1938. I'm going to the village soon. I'm going alone. I've told Jack to make sure the others stay behind. She understands. It was me. I was the mistake. I don't know why, but the blue lands, whatever is controlling this, wants me to die now, and Mary and Grace and Jack to live. I have no objection to this. My only demur is that I am reluctant to die at the behest of these monsters. But if it saves my students, the future be damned, I will do so. There has been a shadow in the corner of my eye for some days now. An echo of a familiar voice. Someone I have longed to be reunited with haunts my dreams and weaves through my thoughts. I recommend Jacqueline Bartlett for the leadership of Rue. She is intelligent, perceptive, and others tend to follow her instinctively. And she cares about the welfare of those under her. She will keep them safe, as I never managed to. I fear this is all a retribution for all I have managed to do against the Eddingtons, that I have crossed their path too often and stopped their plans. The man I had placed in their ranks died some days ago. This all has the feeling of a trap. Yet I have no choice, and in truth, I welcome it. So many have died for me in the past years. It is time to repay the debt. And yet, if the Eddingtons do gain an advantage from this, there will be retribution. Not from me, but those that come after me. Time to go. I know where to stand. I will face those ghosts. Perhaps I'll even let some of them take me, knowing what is to come. I will die. Middleton. Daniel. I'm coming. I'll see you soon. Extract from report by Jacqueline Bartlett. 16th of October, 1938. Frederick Cheveley was killed while investigating a supposed haunting in a village yesterday when the army targeted it, not realizing he was there. There was no trace of the haunting. I miss him. He has handed Rue over to me. I have some vague memories of the last few days, but now, listening to the phonograph records, I understand what he sacrificed for us. I will do my best to live up to his legacy. So that's what happened to Cheveley. I feel like I want to say thank you to the library for giving me this one to read. I feel not stronger, but like I know those who came before did succeed. And if they can do it, I can do it. I think they knew I'd be coming. I think perhaps they thought I'd be easy to control. Fine. Fine. Maybe I'll surprise them. Maybe I'll win. Thank you for listening to the Rue Papers. Written, created and performed by Emma Butler. For bonus material and early access to episodes, please see my Patreon. And remember, listener, some stories should not be told. But aren't those the ones you want to hear?